I wasn't appointed the usual way. No committee, no institutional blessing, no polished ceremony with hands laid on shoulders and approval stamped by the right people. This came straight through Jesus Christ, through God who raised him from the dead. I'm writing with the people who are with me, to the churches out there in Galatia. Grace to you, peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, the one who gave himself up for our mess, our failures, our appetite for destruction, so we could get out of this broken system we keep calling normal. That was the plan, that was the will. And honestly, I can't believe how fast you've drifted. You were standing in something real. Now you're already turning towards something else, something dressed up like the same message. But it isn't. There isn't a second version of this. But there are always people, there always are, who come in after the fact, stirring things up, reshaping it, smoothing the edges, turning truth into something more convenient. Let me be clear. Even if I showed up again saying something different, even if an angel walked in off the street with a new message, don't buy it. If it's not what you already received, it's not the real thing. Call it what it is. I'm not here trying to get approval. Not from people, not from institutions, not from crowds. If that was still my game, I wouldn't even be doing this anymore. This isn't about being liked. This came from somewhere else, and it didn't come secondhand. I didn't learn it from anyone. I didn't inherit it from a tradition. I didn't sit in someone's classroom and take notes. It hit me directly. You've heard my story. You know what I used to be like. I was the guy who didn't just disagree. I went after it hard. I shut it down. I hunted it. I believed I was doing the right thing, and I did it with conviction. I was climbing fast inside that system, better than most of my peers, more dedicated, more certain. And everything stopped. The one who set me apart before I was even born, who called me by grace, decided to show me something else. And when that happened, I didn't go looking for approval. I didn't run to the established voices to check if it was legit. I didn't go to Jerusalem. I didn't sit down with the people already in charge. I left. I went out into the margins, into the silence, Arabia and Damascus, away from the center of things. 3 years passed before I even went near Jerusalem. And when I did go, it wasn't some grand summit. I met Cephas, stayed with him a couple weeks, 15 days, that's it. I didn't meet the rest of them. Only James, the Lord's brother. And I'm telling you the truth. No embellishment. No storytelling tricks. After that, I moved through Syria and Cilicia. Back then, most of the churches in Judea didn't even know me. They only knew the rumor. The guy who used to hunt us down is now one of us. And they didn't argue with it. They gave credit where it was due. They recognized it wasn't me. It was something else entirely. And they praised God for it.
"14 years later, I went back. This time I didn't go alone. I took Barnabas with me, and I brought Titus too. We went up to Jerusalem because something had to be put on the table, privately, not for show. I laid out what I've been preaching among the outsiders, the non-Jews, not to get approval, not to ask permission, just to make sure I wasn't running in vain. And interestingly enough, the people who mattered there didn't try to correct me. Titus was with me, Greek, uncircumcised, and nobody forced him into the old system. Even though there were always a few people who slipped in quietly, pretending to check things out while really trying to pull us back into slavery. But we didn't give them an inch. Not for a second. Because the truth of this thing, the freedom of it, was at stake. And the leaders there, the ones who seemed important, they added nothing to what I was doing. Whatever their reputation, it didn't change anything for me. They saw that I had been entrusted with something the same way Peter had been entrusted with something else. Peter to the circumcised, me to the outsiders. Different roads, same source. And when James, Cephas, and John, the ones people call pillars, recognized the grace in it, they didn't compete with it. They extended a hand. They agreed. I'd go to the outsiders. They'd go to the insiders. Just one request. Remember the poor, which was already in my mind anyway. Later though, things got messy. Even Peter came to Antioch, and I had to call him out to his face. Because what he was doing didn't match what he believed. At first, he was eating with everyone. No separation, no rules about who sits where. Then some people came from James, and suddenly he started pulling back. Not fully, not openly, but enough. And others followed. Even Barnabas got caught up in it. That kind of hypocrisy spreads fast in a room. So I stood up, and I told him straight. If you, a Jew, live like the outsiders when no one's watching, how can you now force the outsiders to live like Jews when everyone is watching? We're Jews by birth, yes, but even we know this. Nobody is made right by following rules alone, only through faith in Jesus Christ. So we believed not in the system, in Him, because no one gets set right by the system, not ever. And if trying to be made right through Christ ends up exposing sin again, does that make Christ the cause of sin? Absolutely not. If I rebuild what I tore down, I prove I was wrong the first time, and I'm not going back. Because when I tried to live by that system, I died to it. Now I live differently. And it's not really me living anymore anyway. It's something else living through me. The life I live now, it's faith. Trust in the one who loved me enough to give himself up for me. I'm not gonna throw that away. If righteousness could come through rules, then what was the point of all of this?
The town was watching again. Not with love, but with eyes that measured danger. And the man kept walking. He stepped into the place of law and dust, where judgment sat and rose. A man with a withered hand there, like a story no one knows. And the silence turned to pressure, like a storm about to break, as they waited for a reason to accuse him of mistake. He looked around the room now, slow like desert time, and asked the question no one dared to speak out loud in line. Is it right to heal a broken thing, or leave it there to die? And the answer was their silence, like a blade held in the sky. In the still, in the dust, what is mercy, what is just? In the still, in the dust, even silence learns to rust. And the hand that should not move still reaches through the night, and the broken are made whole in the absence of a fight. He told the man, stretch out your hand, no spectacle, no cry, just a word like soft thunder passing underneath the sky. And the fingers that were folded like a story never told opened slow into daylight, like a door made out of gold. But the room went cold and harder, like the law had lost its name, and they left to make a shadow out of what they couldn't tame. Then he walked down to the shoreline, where the outsiders gathered near, fishermen and broken people, drawn by something they could hear. No trumpet, no announcement, just a presence in the air, like a gunfighter in silence who don't need to prove he's there. And the sick came like the tide now, pressing close against the shore, and the demons called him clearly, but he answered nothing more, just silence and authority, and the wind that understands that the strongest kind of power don't need violence in its hands. And they said he's gone too far now, he don't sleep, he don't stay still. But the truth was like a river moving underneath the hill. Even family came uneasy, trying to pull him back inside, but he spoke like distant thunder. My family is wider than bloodlines divide. In the still, in the dust, what is mercy, what is just? In the still, in the dust, even silence learns to trust. And the hand that should not move still reaches through the night, and the broken are made whole without a sound, without a fight. And the crowd kept growing, but he kept staying quiet, like the desert before a storm that never needs to announce itself.
Let me put it like this. As long as an heir is a child, he's no different from a servant. Even if he owns everything, he's still under guardians, trustees, rules, structures, people telling him what he can and can't do, until the time set by the Father. That's what it was like for us. We were under the system, locked into it, controlled by the basics, what you can touch, what you can eat, how you perform, how you measure up. But then the moment came, and God didn't send a philosophy. He didn't send another rule book. He sent his son, born into the same mess as the rest of us, born under the same system, so he could pull us out of it. So we could stop living like slaves and start living like sons. And if you're a son, you're not just surviving anymore, you're an heir. Everything changes, so why would you go back? That's what I don't get. You already knew God, or maybe I should say you were known by God, and now you're turning back to the same basic systems, days, months, rituals, rules, like you're trying to rebuild something you already escaped. I'm worried about you, honestly. It feels like I ran all this way for nothing. Let me tell you something personal. The first time I came through your region, I was wrecked, physically sick, broken down. And even in that state, you didn't turn me away. You treated me like I mattered, like I had something to give. And now I'm wondering, what happened to that connection? Have I become your enemy just because I told you the truth? Because there are always people who come in and flatter you. They make you feel special, but only if you fall back into their system. But I'm not doing that. I care about you too much for that. I wish I could be there in person, not writing like this, because this is hard to say from a distance. Let me take you back into the story you already know. Abraham had 2 sons, one born the normal way through human effort, timing, control, the other born through promise. And those 2 still represent 2 ways of living. One is slavery, one is freedom. One comes from trying to force things to work, the other comes from trust, from promise, from grace. And here's the uncomfortable part. The system that looks safe is actually the one that keeps people trapped. The free one looks like chaos, but it's life. We're not children of the slave woman. We're children of the promise. So don't go back. Don't let anyone put that yoke on you again. Freedom is fragile, and people will always try to take it from you. Sometimes in the name of religion. But I've seen both worlds, and I know which one is alive.
Christ set you free. Not halfway, not as a concept, not as a reward for getting it right. Free. So don't go back into something that cages you again. Don't take up a burden you already walked away from. Because if you go that route, if you decide you need the old system to complete this, you're stepping out of grace. And I don't think you realize what that means. It's all or nothing with that path. You take one piece, you take the whole thing, you live by it, you're responsible for all of it. And none of us managed that well the first time. What matters now isn't the system. It's faith expressing itself through love. That's the core. That's the only thing that actually holds. So don't let anyone derail you. A little persuasion here, a little pressure there. It doesn't take much before the whole thing gets twisted. And it never comes from the one who called you. This isn't just disagreement. This is something that eats the center out of the message, and it spreads quietly. You were running well. So what happened? Because something got in there that doesn't belong. And I'm not talking about minor debates. I'm talking about something that changes the directions entirely. As for me,
I'm not here to make this easier for anyone. If I were still trying to keep people happy, I wouldn't even be doing this anymore. The truth I'm talking about doesn't get softened without losing its meaning. So don't mistake clarity for cruelty. Now hear this. You were called into freedom. But freedom isn't a loophole. It's not permission to fall apart. It's not self-indulgence dressed up in spiritual language. It's something else entirely. So use your freedom to serve one another. Because the whole law, the whole structure people obsess over, finds its shape in one line. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you keep biting and tearing at each other, don't be surprised when everything collapses. That's how it works. So here's the real instruction. Walk by something deeper. Not impulse, not appetite, not whatever your old patterns are screaming for. There's another way of living underneath all of that. And if you follow it, you won't keep feeding what destroys you. Because the old life left unchecked always ends the same way. Friction, collapse, disconnection. But there's another kind of life growing in people too. And you can recognize it when you see it. It looks like this. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. 9 markers of something healthy. And there's no law anywhere that needs to clamp down on that. Because it doesn't need policing. It sustains itself. It builds instead of breaking. And if that's what's forming in you, then the old version of you, the one driven by appetite, ego, impulse, that's already been dealt with. So stop acting like it still has authority. Let it go, let it stay gone. And if you belong to something like this, then don't turn it into performance. Don't turn it into comparison. Don't turn it into ego. Just keep it simple. Live it. Because that's where the life is.
Look, if someone gets caught in something heavy, something off track, you don't go in there like you're better than them. You go in gently, carefully, with awareness that you're not immune either, because none of us are. You help carry it. That's the whole point of this thing, not judgment, load sharing. And in doing that, you're actually living out what this is meant to be. If you think you're something special, you're already off course. Because self-deception is easy in this world. We all think we're heavier, wiser, further along than we actually are. But the truth shows up in the work, in how you carry what's in front of you, not in comparison. Each person has their own responsibility, their own load, and they need to carry it. No shortcuts. Don't get fooled here. You can't plant one thing and expect to harvest something completely different. That's not how life works. You plant corruption, you get corruption. You plant life, you get life. Simple as that. So don't get tired of doing what's right, because eventually it shows up, even if it takes longer than you want. So when you have the chance, do good, especially to the people closest to you, the ones in your immediate world. That's where it matters most. Now let me be honest with you. There are people out there who want you to look a certain way on the outside. They push rules, they push appearances, they want control over what you do so they can feel secure in what they believe. But most of them aren't even living what they're preaching. They just want you to fit into their version of things, and I'm not playing that game. The only thing that matters is this: a new creation. That's it. Not old systems, not status, not who can prove what, just whether something new is actually alive in you. As for me, look at my scars. They tell the story. I've been through it. I've paid for this message in more ways than one. So don't trouble me with arguments anymore.
I've already done the miles. From here on, I just want peace on this path. Grace to you, to your spirit, to the way you move through the world. Because that's what this is really about.